Hello and welcome to the presentation of Sime, Darby, Plantation, and Unilever products. Our ethical issue is forced and inadequate labor conditions in deforestation. Sime Darby Plantation is one of the world's largest palm oil plantation companies. It produces nearly 4% of the world's crude palm oil. That is equal or equivalent to 2.496 million tons of oil in each year. Palm oil is an oil that comes from a fruit on oil palm trees, and it's used in food processing in the US. It's also used in Unilever products like cosmetics and cleaning products. Our thesis is Sime Darby Plantation has been forced to reevaluate the ethical issues found in their supply chain after numerous violations of international ethical code upheld through Unilever and the US Border Protection Agency. A little bit of background on the Sime Darby company and Unilever and how they got to their ethical issue is starting in 1964, they started the exploration of the palm oil crop. In 2009, they had their first discovery of the oil palm genome. In 2016, they started a first large-scale planting of the genome select, which meant that they could have a lot more oil production in their company. And then just recently, in November 2020, Unilever began to examine the allegations that were being brought against Sime Darby Company. And then in December 2020, Sime Darby palm oil started to have their imports banned because of their forced labor that they were having. And then also in December 2020, the US and Border Protection issued a withhold statement for the company of Sime Darby.
All right, so supply chain overview. So first of all, a supply chain is a system of organizations, people, activities, information, and resources involved in supplying a product or service to a consumer. A global supply chain is a network of firms outsourcing suppliers and contractors. So that's kind of big when we're talking right now about two companies who are global and kind of have to outsource to different countries to get their supplies. Some of their main supply chain philosophy points that they try to emphasize, they're socially and environmentally responsible supply chain. They believe in advancing human rights, especially in this industry with just a lot of human trafficking and sexual abuse cases. They want to emphasize that. They emphasize sustainable development goals to help the environment, and they try to have a foundation for growth to improve upon. One big thing that they try to emphasize is their 12 fundamental principles. It's part of their responsible sourcing policy and responsible business partner policy. The 12 goals are 1, lawful business with integrity; 2, terms of employment; 3, equal treatment with respect and dignity; 4, voluntary work; 5, appropriate age work, so no child labor; 6, fair wages; 7, working hours; 8, freedom of association; 9, health and safety issues; 10, fair procedures and remedies; 11, land rights; and 12, sustainability and environmental goals. Going back to the logistics too, they have a reduced carbon emissions in logistics. Their goal was to get to below or to 40% or higher by 2020, and they reached that, and they're now setting new goals to get even higher emissions, higher percentage. So Sime Darby has kind of had to step up and change some things to fix some of their problems in their supply chain. And going back to their website, their supply chain philosophy states a lot of stuff, but some of the main points are they want to fight deforestation. They try to establish a chain of traceability to track palm oil from source to supply. That's part of just having a greater industry disclosure overall. They have an NDPE, which is the no deforestation, no peat, and no exploitation policies and commitments. So that just kind of is going back to just trying to help the environment too, and being careful with the land they use. And they want to do all of this to have a fully traceable supply chain. All right, so here's kind of some of Unilever's main philosophies on their supply chain and some of the things Sime Darby has had to improve, or some of their problems that they've had with their supply chain that they need to fix. So Unilever's supply chain includes over 60,000 suppliers from over 160 countries. So it's a lot of different people that they supply, a lot of different companies they're working with. Sime Darby, their supply chain, some of their problems include excessive use of migrant workers, and slavery and child labor allegations. In the manufacturing process, Unilever contacts suppliers with orders. They fulfill and return to Unilever and their plantation. And Sime Darby, their problems during the manufacturing process have included traceability issues and just poor work conditions for their workers. So that's kind of been a problem. Sustainability, that's a big thing that Unilever has emphasized, and a lot of their 12 fundamental principles try to help foster kind of a community of sustainability within the company. And Sime Darby, as you've seen with Boston, with their philosophy, they try to majorly emphasize deforestation and try to fix that because that's one of their bigger problems. And also just that's affecting other species and other animals, such as orangutans, which are becoming endangered because of mass deforestation that's going on. Logistics wise, Unilever has decided to have smarter planning strategies, use alternative fuels to reduce carbon emissions, and they're partnering up with big tech startups to kind of find new technologies to use. So Sime Darby, their problems with logistics have just been mainly due to COVID-19. It's kind of limited their resources, and ease on restrictions because of that has kind of loosen their grip on what they're doing over there. So that's something that you look at and make changes to.
Great. So I'm going to be talking about ethics, the set of principles that really dictate what's right and wrong. And we all know that like once profit starts to get involved, ethics start to get a little bit fuzzy. And the real question is if Sime Darby is violating international ethical and environmental codes. And that answer is a pretty overwhelming yes. The International Labor Organization has really been advancing social and economic justice for the past century. And one of their tools in doing so is their 11 signs of forced labor, some of which include deception, isolation, and sexual and physical violence, all of which really help to shine some light on an organization's use of slave labor. So last year, reports were filed suggesting that Sime Darby was using forced labor. That led to investigations through third-party organizations. And after a thorough investigation, the United States Customs and Border Protection Agency issued a withholding release order, and they found that Sime Darby was violating all 11 of the ILO's signs of forced labor. This means that all Sime Darby products were going to be detained at US ports and borders. A major point of contention for Sime Darby's unethical action is the accusation of sexual abuse and rape that has taken place in their fields. Their major partner and customer, Unilever, actually went on to publicly condemn these actions, even going so far as to become involved with Sime Darby to ensure that the correct actions were being taken. Insofar as like the human ethics are concerned, Sime Darby's been operating quite poorly. However, they have made some steps to limit their environmental impact. It's important to note that deforestation and carbon emissions are really linked to the farming of palm oil. Palm oil accounts for between 2 and 9% of the worldwide emissions, which is a staggering number. But in order to limit the environmental strain, Sime Darby published their research on the palm oil genome, which puts the information into the public domain. This really allows scientists worldwide to collaborate and increase the yield of the palm oil plant, which in turn limits deforestation and their environmental impact. With this in mind, it's really clear that Sime Darby is operating with some sort of environmental consciousness, which should really lead to more climate change activism in the future. And as scientists really gain more knowledge surrounding the palm oil genome, not only Sime Darby, but the palm oil industry as a whole will be able to maximize their yield while occupying as little land as possible, which in turn really cuts emissions pretty dramatically. Unfortunately, Sime Darby's actions in the environmental sector have not really been translated into their human rights issues that have really plagued their business. It's really important to understand that ethics are like inherently subjective, which really brings towards the question of ethical imperialism. So is the United States and other organizations forcing their ethical standards on Sime Darby and the people of Malaysia? And that answer is no. Sime Darby's use of forced labor and sexual abuse have gone far beyond like an ethical scope, and they really should be regarded as a human rights issue. Sime Darby like clearly prioritized profit over the lives of both their employees and their customers, and they've been operating individualistically for many years. It's really clear that Sime Darby has been guided by punitive ethics, meaning that financial greed has determined a lot of their various actions regarding the forced labor that occurs within their fields. As a consumer, we really can't allow Sime Darby to continue with these unethical practices any longer. Not only are they sacrificing the physical and mental well-being of their employees, but the environment also is kind of at stake. Not only is Sime Darby violating international ethical code, which has been set by the ILO, but they really violated basic human rights, which is a really big issue. And I think in time we should see that start to be resolved.
So have the issues been avoided or corrected? Sime Darby has actually yet to respond to these allegations. They have not come out with any official apology. However, on December 30th of 2020, when the investigation results were brought to the public eye, Sime Darby actually said that they will be reviewing the statements to better understand what transpired and what impact has had, and then they will address the concerns raised. Again, they have not said that they have apologized for this. They have not said that these are true. They simply said there's not enough information to go forward, but we'll get back to this situation as quickly as we can. The U.S. Border Patrol actually said if Sime Darby continues and goes forward with an action plan and fixes this, that the ban should be lifted for getting their product into the United States. Sustainability-wise, Sime Darby are doing a great job. They planted 1.4 million trees in 2019 to help combat the deforestation in the past, and they're also rebuilding 2 habitats of some animal species that they endangered. Some recommendations that we have as a team for the company are to formulate an actual apology and express that to the public, take initiative of their actions, and actually come up with a plan for the future of how they'll be going forward and fixing this in the long run. We also think that if they would greatly benefit from partnering with a business like Liberty Shared. So Liberty Shared is the business that actually set forth the investigation on Sime Darby. And we think that by partnering with a business such as this, they would add extra checks and balances to mitigate the chances of this ever happening again. And then last, our recommendation would be to go forward with transparency and honesty. As we can see in the past, Sime Darby did a very poor job of this. So we think this is an important part of moving forward. These are our references that we use throughout this research project, where all our quotes and statistics came from. And as a team, we want to thank you all for listening to our presentation and hope that this has demonstrated how important it is to research what you're buying, because you never know what you could be supporting behind the scenes. So once again, thank you for listening.